Hello and welcome to the inside of my motorhome, and here I'm going to reflect on 1 year in my motorhome, and I think I'll break this video down into parts because it might take too long. I'm going to tell you about what I did 1 year in my life, where I went and what it was. And that year is 2020. It was a pretty bad year for most people, and I can't say it was a bad year for me personally, but I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. Of course, many people not only weren't able to do what they wanted to do, but their businesses suffered badly, their health may have suffered badly, and we've had the tragedy of the huge amount of deaths from COVID and associated illnesses. So with that in mind, I shall tell you about my year, which started off in well, go back to the very start. I was in the United Kingdom, where I tend to go for the Christmas holidays or the New Year period, and then I flew back to Poland. And the reason I flew back to Poland was because my motorhome stays here. Picked up my motorhome. I'd given it a full service, or given it a full service in my absence, and I then drove to Stuttgart. Now Stuttgart there is something called the CMT Trade Fair, which is for motorhomes and tourism, and I went then. In the 2020 version, I'd have to say was, I think, the best one ever. It had been increased in size. There was this big new hall for campervans, uniquely, although other people had campervans in other places. It was really a fantastic atmosphere, and as it happens, that's what I'm now looking back to as the good old days, so to speak. Now, after being in Stuttgart, I then visited several companies in the area, motorhome manufacturers. I didn't really get out and do much tourism, so won't reflect on it too much. Of the places in nearby, I'd have to say that my favourite place that I visited was probably Silver Dream. And they make these wonderful monocoque motorhomes. Anyway, see that in a different video. Now, one of the places I went to was St. Johann, which is in the Schwäbische Alb, to the south of Stuttgart. So I visited a company there, which Wirtz, which makes 4x4 vans, largely on the Volkswagen base. But whilst I was there, it's also there's really nice, attractive places to visit, such as there are two waterfalls there. One of them, I'd have to say, is probably the most attractive waterfall I have ever seen in my life. And here we can see it in this video. This quite outstanding. Also, I went at the best time of year to see it, in the winter. It's partially frozen. I think the amount of water was almost at its maximum. Not quite, because it probably gets more once it starts, the snow melts further, and so there'll be even more water coming down. But really very impressive, and well worth seeing. Another really interesting place nearby is called Bad Urach. It's on the route of the timber framed houses, as they say in German, and a wonderful old market and town hall and other buildings, and particularly as you've got the scenery outside. You've got the couple of castles and the two waterfalls. So to me, this was a really good location. Of course, it was let down, as far as I was concerned, a little bit by cold. It was really cold when I was there, and had it been a little bit warmer, it would have been better. So I think in the summer, that's just the sort of place I would really appreciate visiting. And whilst I was there, also I sort of doubled back a little bit on myself. I don't like doubling back. I like to go on a straight line all the time. But I went to a place called Metzingen. And Metzingen is noted for having outlet shops and the retail outlet. Now this was where Hugo Boss actually started up, and you may know I also have a history channel, and I thought I did a little bit of research and did a video on Hugo Boss and the Nazis. I've written everything I wanted to write about it, but nearly 1 year later I still haven't put the video together, and this is a common theme which runs through lots of things I do. It's finding time to actually do everything. And anyway, so from there I went to, again related to the Third Reich, then that is I went to a place called Grafeneck. Grafeneck was a former mental hospital, and it was turned into a killing centre by the Nazis. So I'd been meaning to go there for some time. You can see that I did a couple of videos when I was there, talking about the history of the in National Socialism, and also the story about the grey buses. They're both on my history channel, and a fair bit of research went into that. Also sort of looked at the post-war careers of some of the murderers from there. I've got the notes on that. I've got lots of pages of notes on that, and I'll try and do something about that sometime, but that is something which has been put off for well into the future. From Grafeneck I went to Aulendorf. This is the place where Carthago vans are manufactured. This something they call it Carthago City, and I think Carthago is possibly by now the largest employer in the town. It's somewhat historic, and it's a nice place to visit, and because of the amount of vehicles they have there in the showroom, there was more than 40 vehicles, and I spent a fair bit of time filming them all, and you can see that on my on this site here. Then I went to Bad Waldsee. Bad Waldsee, in a way, maybe this is the capital of motorhomes. Oh dear, I'm sort of insulting those in places like Poggibonsi and others, but this is where Hymer is based, and they also have a showroom, and there's about 30 or so vehicles. They only spent a couple of days there. This time was really because of the cold that I wanted to sort of move on. But you can see again once more I did a selection of Hymer vans, and from there I travelled east. I went to Munich, and I stayed there for 5 days. Again, there was a trade fair there called Free. I wasn't terribly impressed by the trade fair, but the campsite was quite nice, and weather was now actually getting better, and it became a bit more pleasant. And from Munich I went in a northwesterly direction to a place southeast of Augsburg called Mering. It's a village. I think it's about 3,000 people live there, but that is a place once more where campervans are manufactured. I went to see the Büro Reisemobil, or Reisemobil Büro, and they make the Oman 4x4, the cab units for this vehicle. And this has been one of the most popular vehicles on my channel, so it was nice to see how they are actually produced. Now, whilst I was there, the plan was then for me to go to Berlin, and it was the Friday night. I was going to Berlin. Now, it was a trade event starting on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5-day event in Berlin. It's the largest tourist event in the world, and ITB, and this will attract around 130,000 I think it is people, largely professionals, and so there's visitors there from, I think it's 170 countries, something like that. But I mean, just about every country in the world. I mean, there's 1 or 2 missing, but not many. Even in 2019, a friend of mine said he saw the stand of North Korea. I went looking for it and I couldn't find it, but apparently not even North Korea was there. So the plan was to go there. I was really looking forward to a great time I had there in 2019. I'd been there once before, but it was when I was in sort of my other life as a business publisher, and that was around 2004 if I remember rightly. Anyway, so what happened? Now, it takes me a long time to drive anywhere. I drive very slowly because I keep stopping and visiting places, and I sort of planned all the places I was going to visit en route. And I had noticed that the attendance at Munich was quite weak, and people had said because of the disease which had now spread by this time to Italy. And although there were, of course, I saw friends of mine from Italy were at in Munich, I mentioned earlier. Friday night, and I check my emails after doing my premiere film, and I see that the event for which I was going to leave the following day, not stopping off en route, of course, it had been cancelled. And first of all, I thought it was a joke by somebody, or spam. And then I thought, so maybe it's a joke. And then it took me some time to register. It was only when I checked the Twitter account of the ITB that I realised that the whole thing has been cancelled. How can you cancel an event like that? I was thinking people coming from all over the world. So I rang up a couple of people I knew in Germany, and but the following day, I even rang up somebody in Kazakhstan. And she said, no, it can't be cancelled, everybody's gone. And this, I think, was the attitude of many. It was really hard to believe that an event of this nature could be cancelled. The reason was because the health authority in Berlin-Charlottenburg had said that it cannot go ahead. So, instead of going there, I sort of hung around a few more days in Mering. And then I said, right, okay, I think what I'll do is I'll just go to Poland. So I went to Poland, stopped in a place called Helmbrechts, which is in northern Bavaria. And this really interested me because another thing I'm planning on the Second World War front is on the escape of Josef Mengele from the period at the end of the war until he left Europe. And what I'm wanting to do, he's the Nazi doctor from Auschwitz, or doctor, I said doctor, he was a doctor before, I suppose, fair to say. And he, I've written down the places where he was. Sorry, I've got more than 300 pages of notes I've written on this so far. And what I want to do one day is to actually trace the tracks. I've actually filmed one of the places he was hiding in Germany. And so anyway, this is a plan for the future. But anyway, I thought he was held temporarily in a POW camp at this place, Helmbrechts. I wrote to Helmbrechts, and even the mayor, no less, wrote back to me and said he'll take me around and show me these places where the POW camps actually were. So these were American POW camps. Mengele was in 2 POW camps by the Americans, and he was released in the summer of 1945. You can actually, you'll be able to either see the video if I ever get round to doing it, or I might just write the whole thing down as posted on one of my websites. Anyway, so that's Helmbrechts, that's why I went there. From Helmbrechts, I headed in an easterly direction, north a bit first, obviously, and then staying on the motorway. I stopped in Bautzen. Bautzen is in eastern Germany, and it's only about 50 kilometers from the Polish border. Bautzen's a really attractive old town. The reason I went there, though, was to get some stuff for a friend of mine whose wife likes a certain drink which I can buy in Germany. So in Bautzen, the day I got there was quite nice, but it was in the evening. But the following day it was pouring down, and then after that I thought, right, so I shall continue on my way, and it was probably just as well, because the photographs shown even on the front page, for example, of the Financial Times, was the traffic jam on the German A4 motorway between going in the direction of Görlitz, Zgorzelec, where the border crossing is, into Poland. And that, I'm going to say, is the end of part 1. And so I shall publish part 2 of the year of my life 2020 a little bit later. Thanks for listening.